Well, I don't know. I was going to say welcome to the podcast, but we're in your sanctuary. This
Yeah.
is your home.
Welcome to Valley View.
This is Cole Pruitt, and he and I just connected pretty recently. He's been here for a while, and I'll let him tell you about that. But I am just having so much fun with this relationship, Cole.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about you, but you are so welcoming. You know, you're so embracing, and so you just let people in. You've let me in so easily, and I just want to tell you thank you for that, because relationship's just a big deal to me, and to have you so open to have relationship with a guy you don't even know, but we have a lot in common. I mean, I think the way that we look at things is remarkably similar, and so why don't you just tell people a little bit about how you ended up here? And I think even that's a remarkable story, because you're going to find out that this isn't just a place that he came to, but this is a place he chose. So.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for the open invitation, Jeff. You've been very inviting and joining in for coffee and things like that. That's always here at Valley View, and well, I think anywhere in life, if you can connect over coffee, you can pretty much talk about anything.
About anything.
I think that's true. So our story is almost 5 years ago now. We got a call about this church that was coming open here in the Pacific Northwest, and my wife and I were already in a place where we were planning on church planning. We were exploring cities. We were looking at places all over the country, and we were trying to find, where's that place that we want to plant a church? Where's that place that we want to raise our kids? Where's that place that we want to fall in love with? Where's that place that we want to call home and work until we retire? That was the idea, which is not usually...
That's not typical.
Right, which we know how weird we are on that, but that was 100% the plan. That was 100%, okay, what's going to happen? So the miracle is we got a call from Vaughn Matthews. And Vaughn spent 20 years of his life here in Longview, at least, and raised his kids here, and so he... I probably asked him more questions about the city of Longview than I did about the church up here. And as far as I knew, I didn't really even know the Pacific Northwest was something different than the West Coast. I had no idea it was a different culture. I had no idea it was its own thing, So coming from, I grew up in Texas and I was in Alabama for 10 years where I met my wife. That move was just like, the Pacific Northwest is something completely different. It's an animal I didn't realize. So we came up here and we absolutely fell in love with the place. We interviewed with Valley View Church here, and on the way back to the hotel, I was driving from preaching here that morning. Vaughn was calling me going, hey, kid, you got the vote? And I need you to move up here by this date. I'm like, whoa, that's quick. Okay, let me get home and sell my house. Okay, let's do all this. Let's change everything. And it was about a 40-hour drive.
Wow.
And one of the things that impacted me the most in the decision-making process was a friend of mine that I had known, and at the time that we moved up here, he was an executive pastor at a pretty large church in Augusta, Georgia. Fantastic church, doing great ministry, not as a lead pastor, but just under a lead pastor. Had a great gift for administration, doing all these things. And previously I had conversation with him, and it was, hey, I know you're working in Georgia now, but you planted a church in Alabama, and that church is doing really well. Can you tell me why you left? Because I want to go plant a church, and this guy planted a successful church and then left it to go to another place in Augusta, Georgia. And I said, man, you've got to tell me why. What happened? Was it the people? Was it you? What was it? And he said, I didn't love the city. I said, what? He goes, I love Augusta, Georgia, everything about it. And he said, when you choose where you want to go, make sure wherever you're going you love. There's some things that you can quantify, but it's almost an intangible spiritual thing. And what I mean by that is, we've been to other cities that were cool cities, and we could have worked there, but when we put our boots on the ground, we just didn't have the same spiritual response to the city. The evidence of the calling didn't represent itself.
Right.
Like I love these people in these other cities, but I don't feel like I'm called to pastor them.
Yeah.
I feel like that. Every single person we met, I remember our interview weekend, we tried to go to as many restaurants as many, Sweet Spot was one of the first places we hit. We met a couple there. And it was just, how many names can we learn while we're here and how many stories can we find out? And that was what drove us, is the need. The need. I think Longview has a need, a spiritual need for healthy, life-bringing churches, and there can't be enough of us. Yeah, I think it's just part of it. When we came up here, of course, we spent hours doing demographics research and all the numbers and seeing all the things and finding out, there's 98,000 people within a 10-mile square, radius of the church and blah, blah, blah. And you go through all those reports, and those are just numbers.
Yeah.
And then you get down in it and you talking to your waitress, at Stuffy's, saying, so what do you like about Longview? What do you don't like about Longview? And you found a lot of people that were like, no, I'm just here, can't wait to move out. Or you find people that grew up here, or you get all those different flavors, but you figure out really quick where the heart of people are in it, and you see, we met a young lady that was working as our waitress at Stuffy's, and she was telling us about LCC, how it was a local community college, and we're like, oh man, that sounds great. And just those kind of stories drive you to see maybe something they don't see about the place. Now, don't get me wrong, we were definitely hijacked by the beauty of the place. Because when we
even that, Cole, I mean, come on. There are some people who
even so, when we came up here, I think God hijacked our senses, because it was early summer and it was nice and cool, and we had come from the south, and that was a relief. But it was the clearest weekend you've ever seen in Longview. So you can see St. Helen. You could see. They flew us right past Hood as we were coming in on that descent, and I'll never forget going, that is the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. This is crazy, you know. And it just the absolute beauty of the place when we first came in, just like, man, this is fantastic. I didn't know this was here. But then just the local charm, and I know that might sound crazy to some people, but it feels like home. And I think that's the intangible. When you walk into your home and it feels like home, it's home. When I walk into this church, and it's not the building, but it's the people, I feel like I've found my people. I think the city of Longview, as far as the church of Longview, I would call it, is has a really specific thing that God is going to do. And I know that might sound weird. I see it almost as a pivot point. Because for so many years there were things that happened. The history of the church is the church going into large urban areas. From Ephesus, from the very beginning of the church, and that would plant churches all around. We don't see that as much anymore. I know that model still exists in the church, and I know there's some great churches in Seattle. I know there's some great churches in Portland. But I think where we are in the I-5 corridor is strategically located to reach a group of people and to go into those cities from a place that can minister, not just physically but online. And do things in kind of a way that reaches a new group of people. And we're in a place that surprisingly enough, I think is strategically located to help seed churches in those areas and even help them grow in those, which I would consider harsher conditions than we have here in Longview.
Well, we kind of saw that with Portland.
Absolutely.
It got pretty devastating there in the downtown area, and it almost felt like we were a safe place in the midst of a kind of a war that was going on.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think you're right. I think that this is strategic that we're here. I also think that we seem to have this kind of mindset where we are willing to facilitate anything God wants to do.
Yeah.
It's not about us.
Yeah.
It's about what He wants to do. But we're kind of ready to take on whatever assignment He gives us.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's between Longview and Kelso, 50,000 people. God can do so much with the people that are in this community, and through, I think through every church, but you know, and I think we're specifically located in this community for a reason. I think that's one of the things that I love about Valley View is, you know, it's not on a major road right now. You know, so when we do events and things like that, it is a community event. It's a party for the people that live on this street, the people that are right around, you know, in the neighborhoods and in the apartment complexes and things just down the street. It's an open invitation to, you know, come be part of the family. It's almost that kind of experience, and I think that's how things grow if churches would just really focus on what's immediately around them. You focus on the city as a whole also, because I feel like I've been called to pastor Longview, Washington through Valley View Church. Well, it starts in our neighborhood. I have to pastor everyone on this street really well, whether they know me or not. I'm thankful that, you know, many of them know me. I think that's a wonderful thing. You know, I'm grateful for those that are right across the street that walk over and attend on Sundays and are members and have been baptized. It's so cool. You know, I love being a neighborhood church. But more than that, you know, I'm across town, you know, Lowe's, Home Depot, or whatever it is, wherever I'm going, I want to love those people like their pastor, whether they see me on Sundays or not. And that's the calling that we feel like we've brought to, which goes back to the intangible. You know, when we see these people, we just naturally love them, not because it's something that we've chosen, I think, as much as God's chosen. And I don't want to get into theological territory there, but in reality, I think when God puts a burden and a need on your heart to see something, He makes you fall in love with something. And if He does that, there's no changing your heart on that. It would be to deny and reject what God has put there.
I love the way you put that.
The main difference between here and the Bible Belt is culture. So you've got this that church is culturally relevant there, and people that go to church don't necessarily follow Jesus.
It's not if you go to church, it's which church you go to.
Exactly. It's not so much about, you know, what is your deep walk with the Lord. It is, well, I mean, you know, I have to go to church, I have to get my child dedicated, I have to do all these things that, you know, that are not cultural norms up here. So it's interesting you ask that question. We're actually going through and restructuring some things this summer. We've decided to take this summer and restructure some things and roll some new things out in the late summer and in the fall around this very topic, because I think individual discipleship is crucial. But I don't think it's necessarily my job to individually disciple every single person that walks through the door, because I think my job description is pretty clear in Ephesians chapter 4. It's to equip the saints, which is all the people that are following Jesus in my church, to equip them for ministry. And they're going to disciple one another. I have to give them the tools to do that, though. I think I'm equipping them. So one of the things we're doing is we've got a Connect class for members. But we're restructuring our coordinators and our leaders in the church, small group leaders, volunteer group leaders, you know, between media, not just small group leadership, but also like front door team, kids ministry, all those things, and equipping them better. Because I think if we equip our leaders better, they're going to disciple the people that serve with them better. So we're developing a coordinator class that they're going to be able to go through, and we can have answer question sessions with that are going to be basically on three things. Structure, they need to know the structure of the church, and they need to know the structure of discipleship. Who answers to who in the authority in Christ that is built into the structure of the church. The second thing is on systems. Every church is a product of the systems that they use. Every church has systems, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah.
Some systems are good and some systems are bad. You have to recognize. So we want to teach them and put real tools in their hands to help them connect with people. And the last one is solutions, because here's the beauty of discipleship. It's with people.
Yeah.
And with people comes conflict.
Yeah.
Conflict's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think we've spent enough time equipping leaders in the church with conflict resolution and solutions to conflict, and helping them with the inner conflicts that volunteers are going to have, or the inner conflicts people are going to have in their small groups with things that they're struggling with, but also real conflict where I disagree with you on something.
Right.
Well, there's plenty of biblical mandates on how we deal with that in the church and not split off and become two churches.
Yeah.
And so we're looking really heavily at, okay, how can we better equip our leaders? Because I think if we better equip our leaders, all the people that they're discipling, whether they realize it or not, all leaders are leaders because someone's following them. Mm-hmm. If we can help them recognize and equip them better, I know that they're going to help disciple people in the church better.
Yeah. We really hope today's episode was helpful. You'll find more resources and content to connect with other community leaders by going to our website, cityservecowlitz.org. So, it's been a joy to walk with you, and we'll see you soon.